Hello everyone. In this video we are going through the physiology of thyroid gland and its hormones. First of all, anatomical location of the thyroid gland. It is located in front of the trachea, so that is the tracheal rings and trachea. So it is located anterior to the trachea, and it having the two lobes, that is the first and that is the second lobe, and both the lobes are interconnected by the isthmus. 15 to 20 gram weight, and it's a highly vascular structure. Now the histology of the thyroid gland. So about 3 million follicles, so that is the follicles, and about 3 million follicles are there which contains colloid with thyroglobulin. So in the lumen of the this follicle, it contains the thyroglobulin. Thyroglobulin contains thyroid hormone within its molecules. Now the hormones of the thyroid gland. Follicular cells, these secrete the amino acid derivative tyrosine hormones, thyroxine or tetraiodothyronine T4, which is around 93%, triiodothyronine T3, which is around 7%, and reverse T3, which is inactive. Mainly we have to focus over this T4 and T3 hormones. Parafollicular cells, C cells, synthesize and secrete the calcitonin hormone, which helps in the calcium metabolism. T3 is more potent and long acting than the T4. That means the actions of T3 is more potent and long acting, having the longer duration of the action than that of the T4. So iodine metabolism, dietary intake in the form of iodides. Sources of the iodine: food, iodized table salt, milk products, medicines. Requirement of the iodine: 50 milligram per year or 1 milligram per week, that is the basic requirement of the iodine. 3 months iodine store in the thyroid, mainly in the colloid. Fourth fifth excreted by the kidney and stools, one fifth taken by the thyroid for the synthesis of hormone. So whatever the iodine we are consuming from the diet sources, around fourth fifth major portion excreted by the kidney and stool, but one fifth portion of the iodine intake took by the thyroid gland for the synthesis of thyroid hormones. Now from here we are beginning with the steps in the synthesis of thyroid hormones. So these all are the steps, starting from the iodide trapping or iodine pump, which is working, synthesis and secretion of thyroglobulin, oxidation of iodide, iodination or organification of thyroglobulin, coupling, storage and secretion and transport. So first point, iodide trapping. Step in the synthesis of thyroid hormone, it is the iodide trapping by the sodium iodide pump. So iodine is there, and it is released inside the follicular lumen. Normally 30 times of the this process happening, but maximum 250 times is also the process will happen if the iodine concentration is high in the blood. Thyroglobulin formation and secretion. Thyroglobulin, it's a protein, so it is basically synthesized from the rough endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus in which the thyroglobulin package, and now it is released where the iodination and coupling takes place later on. Each thyroglobulin molecule contains 70 tyrosine amino acids. So mainly the thyroid hormone, basically we are speaking about the amino acid derivative, mainly the tyrosine amino acid is there in the structure of the thyroid hormone. Now the third step, oxidation of the iodide ion. So iodide conversion to oxidized iodine form. So here the iodide which is converted to oxidized iodide form by the peroxidase enzyme. In the absence of peroxidase, rate of thyroxine formation decrease. When the peroxidase enzyme is not available, the thyroid hormone formation becomes reduced. Now the next step, it is the organification or iodination of the tyrosine molecule which is present in the thyroglobulin. So here the oxidized iodine molecule which combines with the tyrosine of the thyroglobulin. Once the iodine combined with the tyrosine molecule of the thyroglobulin, there will be formation of monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine. Iodinase associated with oxidized iodine accelerates the process. So this enzyme which helps to accelerate or increase the rate of process. Now the coupling. Monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine, when combined it will form the T3 thyroid hormone, and when the two molecules of the diiodotyrosine combine, then it will form the T4 thyroid hormone, which is thyroxine. Storage of the thyroglobulin. Through the mechanism of pinocytosis, this complex enter inside the cell, and digestion of the thyroglobulin by the lysosome. So whatever this molecule, it is digested by the lysozymes, and there will be releasing of the T3 and T4 hormones, and this hormone directly diffuse or secreted into the blood. So that is the last step, recycling of the iodine from MIT and DIT needs deiodinase. So whatever the MIT and DIT are still present, these are divided by the deiodinase enzyme, and the iodine is released. So this iodine will be recycled again and again. So that is the last step, recycling of the iodine from the MIT and DIT. Deiodinase enzyme deficiency affects recycling that causes the iodine deficiency. So here, if the deiodinase enzyme is not available, then there will be the difficulty or the deficiency of the iodine will be there, if the person is also having the dietary deficiency of the iodine. Thyroid hormone transport in the blood. 93% T4 and 7% T3 is released in the blood. So majority is T4 hormone is released, and 7% only it is the T3 hormone is released. Approximately 99.98% is bound to 3 plasma proteins. So there are 3 plasma proteins are available for the transport of thyroid hormone. First, thyroid binding globulin TBG around 75%. Second, thyroid binding prealbumin TBPA or transthyretin around 15 to 20%, and albumin 5 to 10%. So all these are the plasma proteins which binds with the thyroid hormone, and it helps in the transport throughout the body. Now small amount in the free form but biologically active. Once the thyroid hormone binds with the plasma proteins, the hormone will become inactive. But for the fully activation of this thyroid hormone, it must be released from the plasma proteins, or it should be available in the free form. Due to high affinity, slow release to the tissue. So this thyroid hormone having the high affinity for the plasma protein, so this hormone will be released very slowly at the tissue level. Now thyroid hormone at the tissue level. Once the thyroid hormone T3 and T4 reaches to the tissue level, now what will happen? Now here the T4 and T3 hormone reaches to the target cell. Now what will be the things are happening over here? So basically this T4 and T3 reaches to the transport via the plasma proteins, and here the one important thing we have to note, that more affinity of binding plasma proteins for T4, so slow release than T3. So T4 binding with the plasma protein, it's a very strong bond, so that the release of T4 hormone is very slowly than that of the T3. Now here, once the T4 hormone enter into the cell, there is a one enzyme which is the iodinase, which release the iodine, and it will be converted to T3. So everyone please remember, the action of the thyroid hormone always occur to the T3 hormone only. This T4 once enter into the cytoplasm of the target cell, it is converted to T3 via the iodinase enzyme. Intracellular receptors have more affinity for the T3. So whatever the T4 hormone which enter into the cytoplasm, it is converted to T3 because the intracellular receptors have high affinity for the T3 hormones. Now this T3 hormone directly enter into the nucleus of the cell. So that is the nucleus. So the receptor for the binding of thyroid hormones, specifically T3, is present in the nucleus. So here in the nucleus there is a thyroid hormone receptor is present where the T3 molecules bind or the T3 hormone binds, and ultimately there will be the response is like gene transcription, translation, mRNA synthesis and synthesis of new proteins, and through the new proteins the response will be occurring. So that is the thyroid hormone at the tissue level response. Now the physiological actions of thyroid hormone on the cell metabolism. It increases the cellular metabolic activity of almost all tissue. So every tissue cell metabolic activity has been increased by the thyroid hormone. Calorigenic effect increase oxygen consumption of almost all tissue. That means oxygen consumption rate will be higher in every tissue when there is a presence of thyroid hormone. Increased basal metabolic rate may be up to 60 to 100% above the normal. Increased utilization of food for the energy. Increased protein synthesis and catabolism. Here the both the things is happening, protein synthesis and catabolism, that means protein breakdown. Increased growth rate in the young people. Increase the mental process. Increase endocrinal activity throughout the body. Increase size and number of mitochondria. Increase sodium potassium ATPase pump, or simply increase pump activity on the cell membrane. Increase heat production and body temperature. So these are the effect of thyroid hormone on cellular metabolism. Now specific actions of thyroid hormone on growth and development. Growth mainly in the growing children. The function of the growth and development mainly occur in the children because they are in the growing phase, essential for the normal brain development, fetal and first few years of the postnatal life. So in the fetal life and first few years of the postnatal life, thyroid hormone is necessary for the growth and development of the mental process. Small brain in hypothyroid fetus and infant, there should be retardation of the mental activity will be the outcome if the thyroid hormone is low. Development of the skeletal system, increased growth and maturation of the bone, initially tall but early union of the epiphysis. That means for the growth and development of bones, the thyroid hormone is necessary. Increased tooth development and eruption, increased growth and maturation of epidermis, hair follicles and nails. So for everything, bones, tooth, these nails, hair follicles, everything, the thyroid hormone is required. Effect of thyroid hormones on carbohydrate metabolism. So first, stimulation of the carbohydrate metabolism. So it increases the glucose absorption from the gastrointestinal tract. It increases glucose uptake by the cells. It increases glycogenolysis. It increases the gluconeogenesis. It also increases the insulin secretion, peripheral utilization of glucose. So ultimately when we add up all these things, then there will be increase in the blood sugar level or the blood glucose level will be the ultimate outcome. Effect of thyroid hormone on fat metabolism. Stimulation of the fat metabolism, mobilization of fats from the adipose tissue and depletion of fat stores. So fat tissue mobilization, that means the reduction in the fat tissue occurs in the presence of thyroid hormone. So there will be the depletion of the fat stores, increase free fatty acid in the plasma, increase oxidation of free fatty acid by the cells, increase excretion of cholesterol in bile, and ultimately there is decrease in the plasma cholesterol level. So this is the effect of thyroid hormones on the fat metabolism. Here excretion of cholesterol in bile is increased so that the plasma cholesterol level will be decreased. Now the effect of thyroid hormones on protein metabolism. So it increases the protein synthesis, and for this increased translation of RNA as well as increase in the transcription of DNA, both the processes are required. It also increases the degradation of proteins, Resultant is anabolism, that means protein synthesis will be the net outcome. Severe increase of T3 and T4 causes catabolism. When there is a higher amount of the T3 and T4 above the normal level is present, then it causes the protein breakdown effect. Now, effect of thyroid hormone on the cardiovascular system. It increases the blood flow due to the vasodilatation by the increase in the basal metabolic rate. So when the basal metabolic rate is increased, there will be increase in the blood flow due to vasodilatation. There will be increase in the cardiac output, increase in the heart rate, because the direct effect on the excitability. This thyroid hormone having the direct effect on the SA node, that's why it increase the heart rate. Heart rate is also increased indirectly when the increase in the basal metabolic rate. It increases the strength of the heart. So this T3 and T4 hormone increase the strength of the heart. In normal condition, this T3 and T4 hormone increase the strength of the heart. But in abnormal condition, when the T3 and T4 hormones are more than above level, then ultimately it reduces the strength of the heart muscles due to protein catabolism. That means the protein which is present in the heart structure will be break down, so that the decrease in the strength of the heart. Mean arterial pressure is normal, that means it increases the systolic blood pressure because the blood flow is increased and the contractility is also increased, but ultimately due to vasodilatation there will be decrease in the diastolic blood pressure. So the net outcome, or we can simply say that the mean arterial pressure is normal and the pulse pressure is also increased. Effect of thyroid hormone on nervous system. Critical for the normal CNS neuronal development. So for the development of normal brain function, the thyroid hormone is necessary. It increases the cerebration, it increases the myelination in the fetus and neonates, it increases reactivity of the synapses, enhances the wakefulness and alertness, it enhances the memory and learning capacity required for the normal emotional tone. It increases the speed and amplitude of the peripheral nerve reflexes. So all these are the things which depend on the thyroid hormones. So we can also say that thyroid hormone is important for the development and maintenance of normal functioning of the CNS. Effects of thyroid hormones on the reproductive system. So it is required for the normal follicular development and ovulation in the female, required for the normal maintenance of the pregnancy. In males, it is required for the normal spermatogenesis process. In males, when there is decrease in the T4 hormone, there will be lack of the libido, that means decrease in the sexual activity, and when there is increase in the T4 hormone, impotence will be the outcome. In females, decrease in the T4 hormone, then it will produce the menorrhagia, polymenorrhea and amenorrhea. Now the effects of thyroid hormone in other systems. Respiratory system, it increase the rate and depth of respiration, it increase the BMR. On GIT, it increase the appetite, rate of secretion of digestive juices and increase motility. On the renal system, it increase the blood flow. On the blood, it increase the RBC count or simply RBC mass. Other effect, it increase the vitamin needs as well as decrease body weight, but counterbalanced by the increased appetite. So when the thyroid hormone is released, it having the decrease in the body weight type of activity, but the body weight is balanced due to simultaneously increase in the appetite. Now how the regulation of thyroid hormone takes place. The regulation mainly through the hypothalamo-pituitary thyroid axis. Here the thyroid releasing hormone is released from the hypothalamus, which stimulates the anterior pituitary gland, so that there will be secretion of thyroid stimulating hormone, and this thyroid stimulating hormone ultimately stimulate the thyroid gland, so that there will be release of T3 and T4 hormones into the blood. Now this thyroid gland releases the free thyroid hormone into the blood. This free thyroid hormone binds to the binding protein and hence it is circulating throughout the body through the thyroid binding protein. The major effect, it is the negative feedback. So once the thyroid hormone or the free thyroid hormone is released from the thyroid gland, now this free thyroid hormone inhibit the anterior pituitary gland, so that there won't be any production and secretion of the thyroid stimulating hormone. The same way it also inhibit the hypothalamus, so that the thyrotropin releasing hormone will not be produced and released. So that is the negative feedback mechanism of the regulation of the thyroid hormone, and this is known as the hypothalamo pituitary thyroid axis, because it involves the hypothalamus, pituitary gland as well as the thyroid gland. Now, role of thyroid stimulating hormone in the thyroid hormone synthesis. Simply, thyroid stimulating hormone increases the number of thyroid cells, as well it increases the every step in the formation of the thyroid hormone. Regulation of thyroid hormones. Thyroid stimulating hormone stimulates almost all steps of the synthesis of the thyroid hormone by the second messenger, which is the CAMP. It stimulates the all step which iodine trapping, iodination of the tyrosine, proteolysis of the thyroglobulin, secretory activity, size and number of cells. It also increase. Here the hypothalamus release the thyrotropin releasing hormone, which increase the TSH by the second messenger phospholipase C. In the conditions of the winter, for example cold, there will be increase in the TRH from the hypothalamus, so ultimately increase in the TSH, and there is also increase in the T3 and T4 hormones. Helps in the increase in the BMR and heat production, so it will provide some beneficial effect in the cold environment. In the emotional reactions, for example anxiety and excitement, there will be increase in the BMR, and ultimately there will be increase in the heat formation, so it having the inverse effect on the heat control center. So that is the regulation of thyroid hormones. Now the other factors which regulates the thyroid hormones. Autoregulation, when the iodine is increased in the diet or blood, there will be decrease in the iodine trapping, and vice versa, when the iodine is decreased in the diet or blood, there will be increased trapping of the iodine. That is the process which happening at the thyroid cells. Antithyroid substances, drugs suppress the thyroid secretion. For example, thiocyanate inhibit the iodine pump as transported by the same pump, but thyroglobulin is not inhibited. So here the thiocyanate is the drug which inhibit the iodine pump, so iodine trapping is not possible. When there is iodine deficiency, there will be decrease in the T3 and T4 hormone, but there will be increase in the TSH hormone or the thyroid stimulating hormone from the anterior pituitary gland. Propylthiouracil, which blocks the peroxidase enzyme, and due to this blockage the iodination and coupling will not be possible, so there will be decrease in the T3 and T4 hormone, not when the increase in the TSH by this drug causes overgrowth of the thyroid, and ultimately it leads to the goiter, which is the abnormal condition of the thyroid gland.